Ready? Go! Working on it. Close the door?
Do we need to close the door?
No.
I don't know if you've ever used these mics, but it's best to speak about handling. Yeah.
What did you say?
Say something.
Say something.
Check 1 2.
Check
Check
one.
1 2. What you got,
Yes.
Eddie? Eddie, are you with me? Eddie, are you there? Go, Eddie. Go, Eddie.
Go.
Hello, everyone. Want to welcome you tonight to debate between two Republican candidates here for the Lawrence County executive position. My name is Brandon Taylor, and to my left, I have Mr. Lawrence Sutton, my brother in Christ and my partner in crime, if that could be possible. And of course, we have David Morgan and we have Phillip Heatherly, and we're going to introduce them. We'd like to go through a few rules. This debate's going to move forward tonight. But before we get into our debate, I want to give a special thanks to WLX, WDXC Studios here. We are live in studio here at the radio station. I want to give a special shout out to them for all the hard work they do to make sure we have freedom of speech in Lawrence County. It's just a great group of people to work with. I also want to give a special thanks tonight to the Lawrence County Republican Party County Executive Committee for being here, being present. They're off screen, but they're giving their presence here tonight, being in unity. I appreciate them being here as well. For the rules tonight, we started off with a coin toss between Mr. Heatherly and Mr. Morgan to see which one was going to go first. They get to pick, so that's been decided before. Who's going to go first and who was going to go last has already been decided. The rules are like this. There's going to be a 90-second introduction for both candidates to introduce themselves to the constituents here in Lawrence County. Each question that will be asked to both candidates. They will both be given 90 seconds to answer. And then, should there be a rebuttal for the question or the answer from the other candidate, there will be a 30 seconds allowance for the rebuttal. At the end of this debate, we will allow them 3 minutes for closing statements with both sides given the same amount of time. Gentlemen, are you ready? All right. So, according to the coin toss, we're going to start off and give Mr. David Morgan 90 seconds to introduce himself here to the good folks in Lawrence County.
Well, guys, thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. I appreciate it very much. It's an honor to serve as your county executive, and thank you to the radio station here in Lawrenceburg and all that they do. Striker Steakhouse, Josh, shout out to you, my man, for sponsoring this thing tonight. But Lawrence County, you know, I know a lot of you. I've had the privilege of growing up here and raising my family here, my parents raising us here in Lawrenceburg and Lawrence County, and it's been an honor and a privilege to serve as your county executive the last 4 years. A little bit about me. First and foremost, I'm no one without my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, who saved me at 19 years old and delivered me out of a bunch of mess in my life. And I'm thankful tonight to be called a son of God first and foremost. And then I am ridiculously blessed to have a beautiful wife named Stephanie, and she's given me 5 beautiful kids, and my children are growing and booming and going, and they're at a ball game right now tonight. So I'm excited about this evening and be able to talk about our ideas and what's going on, and I'm looking forward to the opportunity to continue to lead in this capacity, if you so will, to vote me in again as county executive. And it's been one of the biggest honors and privileges of my life to serve in this capacity. And I'm a pastor, I'm a farmer, I'm just an electrician, a lot of different things, right? We all wear a lot of different hats, every one of us in this room, and I'm just thankful tonight for this opportunity. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Morgan. And also, I want to say thank you to Strikers as well for sponsoring this. It's awesome. Josh, thank you for stopping by the radio station before we got started. We appreciate you. If talking tonight makes you hungry, go by Strikers and get you something good to eat. Everything there's good. I promise you. We love that place. Mr. Phillip Heatherly, would you like to introduce yourself to the constituents tonight?
Yes, thank you, Brandon. First, I want to say thanks to all y'all for tuning in. Thank you for being engaged in the decision process and voting in your county. I, like David, born and raised here in this county, been a farmer my whole life and a mechanic, and the last 6 years have been privileged to be a commissioner for District 12 out in the Center and Hennerville community. I'm looking more toward the future of being a county executive just to clean some things up, to be able to do some accountabilities, to be able to take the reins of the county and do the thing that we need to be doing, watching our taxpayers' money going forward. So I really appreciate your consideration for your vote in this primary that is May the 5th. You can early vote up to April the 30th. Get out and vote. Just make your voice heard. I would appreciate your vote for me coming up. We'll see what we can do with our hands on this, see if we can turn it in the right direction. Thank you, Brenda.
Thank you. And again, I want to thank both of you gentlemen for being here. And I can say this in front of everyone. We're all friends in this room. I appreciate the lightheartedness. Hopefully we can keep it lighthearted through the debate, give you guys a chance to let the constituents of Lawrence County, let the citizens know what your plans, your vision are. That's what your vision is for this county. That's our goal here tonight, is to give you the chance to voice what your vision is, both of you, okay? And according to the coin toss, Mr. David Morgan, we're going to start off with you with the first question. And of course, again, each candidate will get 90 seconds to answer the question, 30 seconds for a rebuttal. What is the most important issue facing Lawrence County today?
Great question. You guys have heard me say this before, especially people at United Church heard me preach and say this. My dad always said, change is inevitable, but progress is optional. And for us, the biggest thing we're facing is change. With every generation, there is change, and with every season, there's change. And how we navigate that change is what determines on the other side of that change and whether or not it was true progress. And so for me, protecting our culture and our way of life here in Lawrence County matters to me more than anything else. We have an agrarian culture here. We have Philip's grown up. His dad was a farmer. He's a farmer. I'm a first generation farmer. I say farmer didn't choose me, but I chose farming, and I'm still looking at my bank account and trying to wonder why I did that. But the truth is, the things that we hold dear here have come from that culture. And the reason why people are moving here is not just because taxes are low, and it's because it's a great place to live. And that's because we have a Judeo-Christian culture here. And I think it is vital and important for us moving forward to focus on change and making that change positive and progressive in the right way. And so I vow to do that. I've worked hard to do that. I take, one of the things I love the privilege of doing is being able to take all of the county issues to the Lord in prayer every single day. And I feel like when I lack wisdom, which is often, He gives us wisdom and collective wisdom, even with our commission and all of those that are at the table.
All right. Thank you, David. Phillip Heatherly, what is the most important issue facing Lawrence County today?
Planning for the growth that is coming is what I see as the most important thing in our county. So we have things coming in, kind of the Wild West out there in our county. When you come in, really all you have to do is buy a pre-existing building structure, and you can do whatever in the world you want to, as long as it's within the legal rights that you have. There is no way to plan or regulate the things coming in our county, or the detriment to the community that it's going into, or to our infrastructure, or any other. Someone could move in directly across from my house today and build an RV campground, start a sawmill, and we have nothing in the county planning-wise to address that. I think that things here just in the very short past have come up that brought that to light with things that have come in, things that we didn't know about, things that I learned about through Facebook, things that we have to start being able to address. So I feel like that's the most important thing. If you want to save our farmland, you want to save our farm mentality, our Christian beliefs, then I think we have to start knowing what's coming to where we can address that going forward. And there's a lot more to that conversation I'm sure we'll get into.
Okay, thank you.
All right, David, where in the Lawrence County's budget should we be allocating more resources?
For me, primary responsibility is public safety, number one. When I came into office, our sheriff's department was underfunded. We were losing people to the city. We were losing people to the state. We were losing people to neighboring counties because they just didn't have the funding that they needed to pay people a competitive living wage. And then you can move right down the board. EMS was understaffed and underfunded. And then you can look at county fire. County fire has been something that has been needing help for quite some time, and nothing had been done in addition to what had always been done. And so for me, one of my biggest priorities coming in was I started a new committee because I was listening to the people when I was out campaigning. I started a new committee called the Emergency Services Committee, and we have addressed all of those things, and we were able to give exponential raises to those departments. And now we're fully funded. We are fully staffed in those departments. We've added a 5th ambulance to Lawrence County. Our response time, now we have full-time firemen in the county, and all of this came through this Emergency Services Committee. And it was just things that had been neglected and overlooked. And I'll say this, listen, I've been a county executive for 4 years, and you can't put out every fire all the time. You can't get to every issue. You only have so much money to go around. But in our budget, I want to continue to allocate more and more funds toward those emergency services. And of course, education is the key to our future. So what our schools need, we need to be there for them because our children are our future.
Philip, where in Lawrence County's budget should we be allocating more resources?
I think it's twofold. I agree with David on the most important things in our county is safety and security of our citizens. That is what your government was designed to do, is safety and security, and that's where we should be focusing our funds. The roads, we have borrowed money and put towards some roads that we gave Ryan, and he could have went through that money in 1 year, catching up with what we needed done. We have to set a plan forward to where we spend more pennies in our road program. Now, it don't have to be in maintenance of effort. It can be in capital, but we have to allocate more money there. I want to address some of the emergency services things too. We are actually not totally staffed in emergency services. They just put an application out today just put for a job. We have issues at EMS that have to be addressed. Yes, money will have to be expended there. Money will have to be saved other places, but we have to put our money into the safety and security of our county, and them two would be the two that are going to be addressed directly by me.
Thank you. Philip, you mentioned growth. You mentioned talking about things are going on with the county. Well, we can bounce it back and forth. Give you
That's
guys
cool.
a chance.
That's
to start.
cool.
Yeah. And so what we could do is, so that way both of you get a chance to start first on the questions. But on the growth issue, we had politics and pasta, or politics in the park, rather, just a few weeks ago at Rotary Park. And one of our good friends made a speech there, in the most beloved speech in the group. And you guys are smiling because you know who I'm talking about. We love this guy very much, but he was the most beloved speech, was talking about the very issue you just mentioned on what are we going to do about the growth that's coming in? How do we manage that growth? I just kind of want to hand you the floor here. I want to know your thoughts on what is the answer. Is that going to be zoning? How's this going to look? Tell me what your thoughts are on this.
So with what's going on here in the last little while, I think that we have to have the conversation surrounding zoning. Yes, land use appropriations, land use restrictions, zoning. When we all think of zoning, the only way that the county government can save us from that is to give them the power to save us from that. Now, Brandon, that's a slippery slope to get on, because we have to look first and foremost. If I'm telling you what you can do on your land, then you better be able to tell me what I can do on my land. If we're going to get in that, the structure of that has to be so rigid and strong that we cannot, the next guy that gets in office don't need to be able to go in there and line his pockets, because he has the full authority of changing what zones what, commercial, residential, agriculture, to whatever. But that has to be done very, very well, with very good attention to detail, to where it stands up. So we have to have that communication. We have tried in the past to have that talk and got shut down pretty hard. But if we're going to look to government to save us, then we have to give them the power. And I don't like big government, but if that's who we're going to have save us, that's how we got it.
Thank you. David Morgan, same question. We're talking about growth. We have issues in the county, and again, this has been one of the hot topics for this particular debate. Was
Yeah.
people wanted to have this conversation. It is a tough conversation, but again, I'm going to give you the chance to explain your views on what you think with the growth, the expansion of growth. Zoning is always going to be the question that's going to come up in every one of these conversations. I'm going to give you 90 seconds to explain your views and your thoughts on zoning.
Yeah, this is not a new issue. This is when I came into office, I started a second committee and property development and codes. Every 4 years, the commission has to vote whether or not to opt into state building codes or not. So I assumed in my new understanding of government that we could sit down around the table, have a recorded, documented conversation that the public was welcome to come to, which is what you do when you create a committee. It's publicly announced that this meeting is going to take place. The agenda's posted and people can be there. So it's transparency at the same time. Well, after my first year in office, the new chairman of the commission completely cut that committee out, said we don't even want to have those conversations in that regard. And so I had a big town hall meeting. You guys were there. Y'all remember that? Took shots for about 3 hours, questions, and we all walked out of the room, I think, all of us agreeing a little more than we disagreed. Here's the deal. For us, we got to have a strategic plan in Lawrence County. I was just on the phone with University of Tennessee, CTAS the other day. I helped actually lobby for this new department at UT to help county governments create strategic plan, long-term planning, 5, 10, 15, 20 years. The thing for us is that includes schools, it includes roads, it includes emergency services, on down the line. There's a lot to be considered there. Listen, one thing about me is I'm not scared to have those tough conversations. Do we need some type of land use planning? I think we do, but I don't want it to infringe upon our rights. And personal property rights are about as solid as any other right in American history, right? Our right to do what we want to on our own property matters, but also I see what's going on now in our community, and our neighbors and friends are worried about things that are happening that they have no say or control in.
So getting on, David, to question number 3, what specific spending cut would you cut or refuse to approve to keep property taxes from rising?
Well, there's this thing in county government called maintenance of effort. I don't know if everyone knows what that is, and it is that for all elected offices, we provide the same effort financially to their staffing and personnel that we did the year before, and it's by law that we can't reduce that. There are a lot of things that we've looked at in the budget, and Philip has been on my budget committee. And let me just say this, dude, Philip Heatherly has been my friend for long time, and since you were at Advanced Auto Parts and I was shade tree mechanicing, right? Philip's somebody I put on my most important committees. He's been right there with me, and we've made tough decisions. We're about to get budget requests again, and they'll be $3 or $4 million more than what we can give, and we'll have to make decisions on exactly what to cut and where to cut it. The thing I don't want to just say right off the cuff what we would cut, because I think every year the needs change. And every year we look at the budget, we fine-tooth comb it, we look at every penny, and we see what can be cut and where we can make cuts. Again, there's a lot of things we cannot cut. It's state law, maintenance of effort. We cannot cut personnel from elected officials' offices. We can't tell Ryan Creek that he can't have all his employees this next year. We got to maintain that effort with the sheriff and with different departments. And so those cuts are made on an annual basis. We look at those things consistently every single year, and we painstakingly go through that list, and Philip could attest to that. And it's tough, but we have to make those hard decisions, and sometimes people leave the room frustrated with us, but that's just how it is in government.
Philip, what specific spending would you cut or refuse to approve to keep property taxes from rising?
There are things that I would cut that I can speak directly to if we were at a point to where property taxes were going to raise before we cut emergency services, because like I said, that's safety and security is it. What we would have to cut first would have to be charitable contributions. Charitable contributions are not a maintenance of effort. That is things that your government gives money to that are charities. That would be what you would have to cut. And here's my thinking on that. I've got about a minute to reply kind of that. We force, as a government, you to pay property taxes. And then we take the money that you're forced to pay and decide what charity we want to give it to. That's not how that works. We're supposed to supply a service for the money that we take from your property tax dollar, not choose the charity that you should be giving to. That's the first thing. Now, we have not got to the point to where we think we're going to be raising property taxes. I don't foresee that. I'll fight till my last breath trying to keep that from happening. But if that was the case in this hypothetical year, then that would be what had to be cut. Things that were not maintenance of effort. Capital projects would be the second thing. And that's things that's not maintenance of effort.
Thank you. Philip, going back to you. I'm going to go in more on the growth side. What we see with, you brought up taxes, you brought up the fact we're seeing this growth coming in. Agriculture is the #1 industry in Lawrence County. People talk about bringing industry into Lawrence County. We have industry here. It's actually agriculture and farming is our #1, as you both you gentlemen know that. But on agricultural support and seeing taxes that go up, put more pressure on the farmers, more pressure on those that are trying to make a living out of agriculture. We see that squeeze happen as growth happens. Well, I'm going to ask you, ask both you gentlemen, but in agricultural support, what will you do to support farmers and protect farmland in Lawrence County?
Probably the first thing that has actually come into my vision in the last couple of years is going to be more of a state push our state representatives to help us out with. There's an idea out there called a forever farm. It's more of a land conservation idea to where if you could sell your property for $1 million and you want to keep it agriculture, that changes around a little bit. The state gives you a little bit of money to make it to where you can only sell it for agriculture, and that's the only thing it can be. That's the easy, let's blame it on the state way to look at it. The other way is to be able to regulate what's the agriculture area compared to the commercial or residential area, and we're right back to talking about zoning. So I feel like the only thing we can do going forward is make that plan, make that structure of whatever we want to call it. But I don't want it to be Big Brother looking over our shoulder saying that's the only thing you can do with your land, because that's another great freedom that we have. I can do whatever I want to do with my land. I can sell it to whoever. So we've got to look at that. But that's kind of my idea surrounding that.
Thank you.
That didn't work out on a couple of things here lately.
No, it
I'm
did
just
not.
going to tell you.
David Morgan, same question, agricultural support. What will you do to support farmers and protect farmland in Lawrence County?
Well, I think the most important thing is to be at the table and listen to farmers. When I started this property development and codes committee that got axed after my first year, I had farmers on that committee. I had John Rose on that committee. He's the largest row crop farmer in this county. I had Ernie Jones on that committee. He had the last big dairy. He shut it down now, and he buys and sells hay. He's the chairman of the board at Farm Bureau. I mean, I'm like, these are the people we need to sit around the table with commissioners and help educate us on the challenges they have with farming. And so I'll tell you some of the stuff I have done. So that committee got axed, but I'm still talking to those guys on the side, getting their input constantly. But what I have done is I joined an association called National Association of County Officials. It's the lobbyist arm for counties at the U.S. government. I'm on the Agriculture Committee as a vice chairman. I'm also on the Rural Affairs Committee. We help steer policy that directly affects federal dollars coming down to state and state dollars that come down to counties. And so I have a voice in that at that platform, and I'm constantly fighting for our agrarian way of life. And again, Philip's right. There's got to be some type of land use planning. There's got to be a way to protect the best farmland. Several states have it classified A, B, C, and D. And A plus farmland cannot be touched. It can't be industrial advancement. It can't be commercial advancement because they value that good ground. And it kind of goes down the line on what can happen with B and C and D. So there's a lot of options there. There's a lot of things we can do. It is more of a state issue, and we've got to fight at the state level too. That's why I stay involved at the state level. That's why I'm always on the go, because it matters, the conversations we have outside of just here.
Okay. All right, David, coming back, next question. And it's for both of you. But what have each of you done to better prepare yourself to take on the role as county executive, whether it's through education, training, networking, and or leadership development?
goodness gracious, I'd say on day one, I kind of fell to my knees and said, Lord, help, as I realized early on that I need a lot of help. And one of the things I learned quickly is that I needed to educate myself more. And I learned that from part of that was getting involved with the County Executive Association, Association of County Mayors in Tennessee. I'm a vibrant part of that. I go to every one of their conferences. I'm learning. I go to everything that CTAS puts on because they teach us about the laws that have been passed and all the things that have come down the line. And then 2 years in, I was like, man, I need to learn even more. And I had the opportunity through a scholarship, the Ayers Foundation, and then a little bit of money out of my own pocket to get a master's degree in leadership and public service from Lipscomb University. And that has helped me a ton. The networking that's happened through that, the opportunities I've had through that. I think you always have to be a learner. I think you always have to be dedicated to that. So, in county government, county commissioners, county executives are required to get training hours every single year. And it's very important that we do that. A lot of them don't do that. A lot of them do not get any training hours. But it's important that we go, that we participate in the training, because I'm not going to sit back down here in Lawrence County and think I've got a corner on the understanding of state government and county government, how it all works together. Because county government is an extension of state government at the end of the day. And so we got to stay up to speed with the training and all the things that's coming down the line. And unfortunately, a lot of times the people that are making the decisions don't go get the training in order to know exactly what's yes or no.
So Philip, what have you done to better prepare yourself to take on this role as county executive, whether it's through education, training, networking, or leadership development?
Well, the first thing I'd say is being on the commission for 6 years has kind of put me through the school of hard knocks of how it works. So I think first we have to really look at how it does work. So if I sit here and guarantee you that I can move budget money from one point to another point, from general fund to a specific budget line, I cannot. The only thing I can do is have a relationship with the commissioners to where I can lead them toward what the best for the county is. Definitely listening to what their constituents want. So that's what that's what I've learned, is working with the commission is it. Being engaged with the commission and having a commission that trusts you to come in and have a conversation with them. I myself would be happy to be chair of the commission, but that's not something I want. I'd be happy to if they need me, but I don't want it, because I want the veto power of being able to send it back to a committee. So if the commission was to come up with something that was totally against what I felt like was good for the county, I can send it back to the drawing board as a committee, and then they have to put it back through. So I feel like the commission's it. The other thing, I've run a successful business now for 10 years. I've had to make hard decisions. I've had to have hard conversations. I can handle the stress of running a business, and that is what one of the regulations for the county executive is running a business and holding people accountable.
Thank you. Philip, back to you. You mentioned public safety. We talked about allocating more resources for the county's budget would be in public safety. So let's jump into emergency preparedness. Over the past 10 years, we've had everything from pandemics to tornadoes in Lawrence County, as we all know here. What will you do to improve Lawrence County's emergency preparedness?
Something I can directly do as county executive. We have an EMA director. Shelton Barnett does a very good job. His job description comes directly from the chief executive officer of the county. I would have to have a very detailed job description for him and what I expect him to do. Changing gears a little bit there, not what Shelton can do for us, but what I've already talked with Shelton about. He's in process now of getting bids on how much storm shelters cost, above ground and below ground, how much that would cost us. We've talked about communication. I think communication is probably the biggest thing, the biggest dollar spend for our emergency services now. We're on an old analog system, and we're looking at ways to either stay with analog and make it back up good, or get on a full digital system. So that's what I feel like we need to do. The pandemic, Lord, I don't know, pray, and make the right decision when it comes to not take people's freedom away like we've seen happen before.
Right. Shout out to Shelton Barnett, our good
That's
friend. We love you, buddy. Thank you for all you do, and every one of our first responders here in Lawrence County, for that matter. David Morgan, same question. Emergency preparedness. Again, we've seen it all in Lawrence County over the past 10 years, from pandemics to tornadoes.
Mm-hmm.
What will you do to improve Lawrence County's emergency preparedness in the next 4 years, should you be elected?
Well, man, there's a lot that needs to be done, and Philip touched on a little bit of that. We have a major communication problem in this county. There are parts of our county where the radios don't even work with fire and EMA and all of that. And yeah, shout out to Shelton Barnett. When I think of Shelton Barnett, I think of the song, Johnny Cash song, "I've been everywhere, man. He's like all over the county all the time. The guy is full-blooded crazy about this stuff. But I want to say there's something we have done. And listen, man, we have through this emergency services committee, and I'm just the chair of the committee. We've got great people on both sides of the table. We've made decisions that have improved the emergency preparedness of this county. I mean, things that we weren't talking about, things that we weren't funding, things that other people prior to me even coming in office could have voiced an opinion, could have written an article, could have said, hey, we need to be funding these things. But that was never brought up. And so we've doubled the funding to county fire. That has been the biggest thing. Guys, y'all know right now we've got full-time firemen during the day in county fire. Our response times have been cut down to minutes. I'm talking single 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes getting to people. And they don't just do fire calls. They do emergency calls. They do wrecks on the side of the road. We've had some tragedies the last few weeks. People lose their lives, but also lives have been saved because response time has been cut considerably. And it's all because the commission said, let's fund it. But it took leadership to say, here's the issues and here's what we need to do. And the commission stepped up big and said, yeah, we agree and let's do it. So.
Okay, David, staying on that same topic, God forbid we have another pandemic. What would mandates, shutdowns, and your overall leadership of your administration look like?
Well, personal liberty is something that I will never infringe upon. I think this last go round that we went through was horrible and it was terrible, and there were loss of life like in an exponential way. But I also see every time it's like if you look at the emblem for communism, the one logo is the wheat with the hand grasping the wheat. And it's something Rahm Emanuel said, if you remember his name, I think he was the mayor of Chicago. He said, and that symbol means out of chaos, order.
Right.
And he said this, he said, never let a good tragedy go to waste. And the reason why he said that was because he has a socialist mentality and a big government mentality that says government has the answer. Government is the answer. And here's my deal in that. No, God is in control. God has the power over everything, not government. I don't get my rights from government. I don't get my rights from county government. I don't get my rights from state government. I don't get my rights from national government. I get my rights from my creator. And that's exactly what our Constitution says. And so in the case of a pandemic, there is no reason for county government or county official, county executive to be imposing unnecessary restrictions or laws against people's personal liberty. And I'll tell you, we got a sheriff in this county right now that's not going to put up with that anyway.
Nope.
And so I'm just saying, now look, there are things to be considered, and God forbid we ever go through that again. But every generation deals with difficulty, and I think you have to step it out one situation at a time.
So, question for you, Philip. God forbid another pandemic. What would mandates, shutdowns, and overall leadership look like with your administration?
There's no way that I would shut down any business or any restriction like that at all. I run a small business. They called me an essential service. I don't care if I was essential or not. I can guarantee you I would be working on cars. That's how I paid my bills. That's how my kids ate. That's how there's no way that you would get that out of a county level. Now, what happens if the state and the federal government does something? As long as I could control it, there would not be. And that was something I was proud of our administration for then. I was in office when that happened, and we did not. That did not come. None of that come out of the county level. I think that's something that There's no way that I can overstep that bound as a government official. Listen, there was churches closed. When in the world is it okay to stop worshiping God?
That's right.
I can't understand the mentality that they had at that point, but I can promise you that would not even be on my radar. And when that happened, you can make your own decision on that. People would decide not to bring their car to me if they're scared of getting sick. I think we're all grown. We can figure that out.
God forbid we ever have to live through something like that again.
Amen.
I will tell you this. I do want to shout out to John Myers and Brent Cooper, because under their leadership, it gave the past administration and the past administration in Murray County the ability to say, no, we're not shutting down our county, and we're not going to shut down our people.
We got to give TR a shout out too, because
Yeah.
you know
TR
Governor
really-
Lee actually pushed the responsibility
Did.
to the county mayors
He did.
and the local county government. And in moments like that, the county executive does have a lot of different authorities
That's right.
in times of major disaster.
Emergencies.
Yeah, emergencies.
Emergencies.
And so I'm proud of TR as well. Man, they did a great job throughout that.
Absolutely. Thank you, TR. Going to shift gears a little bit. It's hard to get to all these topics. For those of you that are watching, you have a stack of topics that are directly impacted by the county executive position. We're trying to get to as many of those as possible. So I'm going to shift topics slightly. Let's talk about the landfill. Philip, going back to you.
Okay.
You know, there's a lot of people that talk about, is it an enterprise fund? Is it self-funded? So I'm going to ask the question kind of like this, because it falls heavily under the county executive position, and that being the landfill of every county. It's a two-part question. What are we doing correctly at the landfill situation, and what could we be doing better?
You're correct. That falls directly under the county executive. So really, two things is what the state is going to tell you that you're over as county executive, and that's day-to-day operations of the solid waste and over budgeting for the county. Day-to-day operations at solid waste have got to be more streamlined. I feel like that we need to leave the door open for private entities to be able to work with us. But I also believe that they need to work with us. Whenever we're talking about changing fees, knowing who's got commercial dumpsters, things like that, it has to be a give and take in that. I think less government's a great thing. Being able to do that to where it's still a fair and feasible way for our citizens of the county to get rid of their refuse is the key there. But there has to be clear, open communications between them. We've run into that. We just come through solid waste fees changing. Yes, I think that the stream should pay for itself to where we can get rid of it. I think that we came to a pretty good negotiated price on tonnage whenever it leaves. But there needs to be, listen, in every office, there needs to be a lot more hands-on, a lot more accountability. And I'm not talking directly about directors. I'm talking about people being there to make sure people are held accountable.
Thank you. David Morgan, again, landfill, and Philip's mentioned it now, and we all sat through the meetings. We had several county meetings, and we have done several radio talk show, and I don't know what all we did over the last few years talking about the landfill, but same question going to you. It's a two-part question. In the landfill, what are we doing correctly? And also, what could we be doing better?
Well, let me just preface by saying one of the jobs of county executive is to be the chief financial officer of the county. And so I'm responsible for presenting a budget. And that comes through the budget committee to the commission as a whole. And then my job is to make sure that budget's played out all throughout the year. Well, one of the things I noticed when I first came in is that our solid waste fund was in the hole, and we were hurting. And we got hit the first year with a 69% increase on what it cost us to get rid of our garbage. Let me clean up this question a little bit, because we don't have a landfill. Okay, we have a transfer station, so it's two different things.
That's correct.
And even though some people talked about, the terrifying thing of building a landfill in Lawrence County, which I completely never want to have here. So I came to the commission. My job, looking at the budget, is to come up with ideas on how to fix this. I came to the commission with a 4-point plan. Plan A was to quit billing the 16,900 people in Lawrence County their $56 a year sanitation fee from the county. And to put that responsibility on those that were actually picking up their garbage, right? And part of that was the city of Lawrenceburg had a pretty high amount of money they wanted. If we just added it to the power bill, they were going to charge. And so I thought, well, how do we get the county out of the middle of this? Because what was happening was 30% of the people in Lawrence County just don't pay that bill. Now the number's a little better. It's about 80% are paying it. 20% don't. But we needed a plan, and that plan wasn't chosen. Plan B was chosen, which doubled the solid waste fee. But it did get us out of the hole, and it did cover for the cost of the increase that the county incurred from our shipping company that ships our garbage out of here.
All right. Thank you.
So, David.
Yep.
How do you interpret the Second Amendment and what the founders meant when they wrote "shall not infringe"?
I think it's pretty plain and simple. And I think if you translate that in any language, it's going to mean the same thing. Do not get in the way of people's right to protect themselves and to carry. And I look at that and I take that seriously. There were signs on some of our buildings when I came into office, on my administrative building, that had restricted people from being able to personally carry their own sidearm, and I did away with those on my building. And so I know in the courthouse there's metal detectors, there's laws against carrying a gun in the courthouse, which is understandable in some degrees, but I just don't think government needs to be getting in the way. There's one thing about America: we're protected by oceans, on both sides, and we've got a great strategic platform here. But if God forbid Red Dawn ever happened, right? Y'all remember the 80s movie Red Dawn? God forbid that ever happened.
I've heard old people talk about it.
Yeah, old people, yeah. If God forbid that ever happened, hey, good luck to anybody that came in our country, and because we do understand how to defend ourselves, and we understand the privilege we have of defending ourselves, and I don't want anybody telling me I can't protect my family and use whatever means is necessary. God forbid I would ever have to. I hope that gun stays holstered forever, but it's important that we have that right, and it is as basic to our freedom of speech. The only thing that protects that freedom of speech at the end of the day is our freedom to defend ourselves.
So, question to you, Philip: how do you interpret the Second Amendment and what the founders meant when they wrote "shall not infringe"?
They wasn't just giving us the right to defend ourselves and our families. They were also giving us the right to defend ourselves against a tyrannical government. Lord forbid anybody comes try to take my guns. I'm going to have to explain to my wife why I spent all that money. But the Second Amendment, I was on the commission when we done the Second Amendment resolution. Actually, was probably the first time I called TR and said, "Hey, just want to let you know we need to have this in a bigger room, not in the small commission meeting room upstairs." And he kind of blew me off. It's first time, new commissioner, first time. And I said, "No, I'm telling you, it's going to be a full house, and you probably are not going to want to suffer the consequences of walking in or out if you're having it in the small room." If y'all remember that, and we had it in the big room, and y'all filled it up.
And that was during COVID.
It sure was. It sure was. So, listen, the Second Amendment right to me is same as breathing air as an American. You have to have that. That's what holds your checks and balances. I hate to see places that you cannot bring a gun, because I believe that is a sign saying if you're going to break the law, come in here. Ain't none of the law-abiding citizens got a gun. That I feel like it's crazy. There's things that we cannot do at the county level that changes said laws. But as far as I'm concerned, if you're expecting a vote to come through the commission, then I'll veto that one and send it back all I can.
Thank you, Philip. Going back to you again, kicking off the next question. Staying in line with what are the roles and responsibilities of a county executive, let's talk about infrastructure. And, it's kind of, we talked about growth. I think any political conversation in Lawrence County, probably in Tennessee for that matter, is going to talk about growth. So infrastructure, what is your plan for repairing, maintaining, and expanding Lawrence County roads?
We have to find money that we can put directly into the budget for that coming up. Borrowing money is not an option in that. To me, we'll get to the end of our credit. We have to spend money in that. That kind of brings up something else. We've had conversations about fund balance and all this that we have. And I'm happy to say that we have a pretty sizable fund balance, somewhere in the neighborhood of 14 million. The problem is we have things that are needing help, and we're putting it back like we need a retirement fund. This is not a home bank account and savings account. We don't need a retirement fund. A rainy day fund, yes. I'm not saying blow it, but we don't need to squirrel that money away. If we're in a horrible emergency situation, then there's going to be grants from the state level and all that can help us. So we need a sizable amount, but not 14 million. So I feel that we need to fund the roads, and that, I mean, money don't fix everything, but Ryan's sitting on go. He's got the crew, he's got the equipment, he's got the knowledge, he knows what roads need fixed. We've got to turn him loose. And to turn him loose, we have to fund it in a more planned way that we expect every year to be spending X amount of dollars. I can go into how many number of miles he can do and how many he needs to do, but I don't think that's some boring information, but that's that's where we're at.
Thank you. Yeah, and we definitely appreciate you, Ryan Crick, and all your hard work and your team. David, going to you, same question, aligning with growth and what we're seeing in Lawrence County, balancing the growth, maintaining what we have, infrastructure. What is your plan for repairing, maintaining, and expanding Lawrence County system of roads in the next 4 years?
Yeah. So, man, when I came in, I began to look at how long has it been since we invested any significant money in our roads. Y'all, it had been since Donnie Joe Brown was elected, and that was 24 years ago. Well, now 28. 28 years ago was the last time we did a capital investment in our roads. And so the conversations began, and the commission got on board, and I'm happy and I'm proud to say that the county invested $6 million in a road building program, and the state gave us another 3.2. We put $9.2 million in Ryan Crick's hands, who is the person who needs the money, who knows what to do, and I agree with Philip 100%. We got the best road superintendent in the state, and I go to a lot of the conventions and things where you got road superintendents, you got commissioners, you got county executives all together, and we're all sitting around the table, we're all talking about strategic planning. What it comes down to is that long-term strategic planning, which is very hard to do in county government, and that's why a lot of counties don't do it. But it's something that I am committed to doing a second term, is that we sit down and we make a plan for roads and schools and public safety and on down the line, all the things, infrastructure that we need in place. And so I'm committed to do that. Ryan is spending that money. He could spend it all tomorrow, but he's spreading it out a little bit. And I'm going to say about 1,100 miles, roughly, a little bit over 1,000 miles of county roads. And I'm proud to say, man, we're seeing work done all over the county, and they're doing a great job with it. But we always need to do more. And I think I agree with you, Philip, on capital investments on a consistent basis annually is the way to do it.
Okay. Changing a little bit. Talk about collaboration. How do you intend to work with your city governments, your county employees, your state officials, and neighboring counties?
Well, I'll just talk about what I've done. Okay. It's not what I'm going to do. I think it's what I've done. And, the Tennessee CTAS, which is the organization that the University of Tennessee has put in place to help organize that kind of collaboration. They have conferences every year, and they have training every year. And I go to everything I can possibly go to be able to sit down at the table with the County Commissioners Association, with the Association of County Mayors. I sit down with the Road Superintendents Association. We also connect on a regular basis with the school system. And I'm constantly sitting down at the table. And when it comes to municipal governments, we have 4 municipal governments in Lawrence County. That's Lawrenceburg, that's Loretto, that's St. Joseph, and that's Etheridge. Having regular meetings with those guys, which we've been doing. I've been going to those and having conversations. And the interlocal agreements that we have with Lawrenceburg, I know sometimes there's the tit for tat and the give and take and all that. But at the end of the day, this county, and we have been asked to speak on panels, the different ones in this county at different events that I've been to, because there's a unity in this county across the board that's really helped us progress, and it saves the county money and it saves the city's money, and it helps us work together. then the last 4 years has been arguably the best 4 years we've ever had in this county. And part of it is that collaborative effort. That was the spirit when I came into office, and so I've continued that on, and I will continue that on.
Okay, Philip, on collaboration, how do you intend to work with city governments, your county employees, state officials, and neighboring counties?
Well, I've already shown that a little bit. I've been at the utility meetings. I've been at the city council meetings. I feel like you have to be there to know what their needs are. And I also feel like it's a requirement for me to care about what's going on in the cities. They pay the same county taxes that I do in Center. They are county citizens. So we have to be engaged with them. I've spoke with all the mayors. I've been to the meetings. I know their pain points. I think we have to have open communications more so than we have in the past with them. I think you can take that a step farther too. Even our utility committees, I've started going to them. You two know me well enough. I know the people don't, that I like being prepared for what I'm getting into. So I need to know what the problems are that I'm addressing. So we have to have that communications. The surrounding counties, you have to have the surrounding counties communications. They've probably been through it. Now that don't mean you want to do it the same way they did. I can give some examples there, but you need to know what lessons they learned. That's what I learned growing up. If I could go back at like the ripe old age of 27 and listen to what I'm not 27 now, when I was 27, and listen to what my dad had told me, then I'd be at a whole nother level now than I am. We need to open our eyes and have that communication and be able to learn from others' mistakes. And I think that's, yes, you have to have that communication. You have to have that collaboration, and I have that.
Well, I tell you, I'd much rather learn the hard way from somebody's failures than to try to learn it myself.
Yeah.
Thank you. Shifting another gear, let's go to education. And so I've got two questions here. I'm going to try to bring them into one. We have a lot of people asking us to talk about this topic. And so one of the things is always people want to know the strategy of preparing high school graduates for high-paying jobs when they graduate high school, whether that be vocational or however that looks. It's a big push across the state of Tennessee. And I'm going to tie that in with the question is what do you see as the county's responsibility to the development of greater opportunities for K through 12 students in public schools?
I believe wholeheartedly in the vocational system. I actually went through that myself. Had to go to Hornwall to be able to get that under Hines Alton Reed and automotive. We have to increase make the avenue easier to find and easier to traverse to get into different HOSA. We have a lot of things like that. Vocational schools for electricians, for mechanics, for plumbers. We have to have that. What we have to be able to do in that, not a whole lot that I can say I can do directly as a county executive, other than influence that you would have with the school board and the act that we're under, 1957 Act. The school board makes their suggestions for a budget, where they spend money and how they run it. We have to be able to say yes to what they're asking unless it breaks us, and then we have to be able to say no. Most of the raises and all that's went through has mainly been state recommended or state mandated deals that went through, but we have funded and been able to fund what they've asked for. But in opening it up, I think just communications between the county and the school board to where we can help them with their job, and then trust the system that voting the right people in the right place gives us the right thing for our schools to grow.
I love that you mentioned Hines Alton Reed. I actually knew him, and I always had a saying that, if Hines couldn't fix it, it just wasn't broke. So
you couldn't understand it. You couldn't understand him saying it.
It was
Was that back in your hippie days, the long hair days, the Cornwall days?
It was about 5 years ago when Philip was in high school.
There you go.
Going to David Morgan.
Well, didn't he?
Yeah, we got to move right along. We're all the same age here at this table, except for Lawrence. He's much older.
Yes, much older, much wiser.
Again, with education, going to you, David Morgan. In keeping in mind the strategy to better prepare high school graduates for high-paying jobs, whether it be vocational or whatever we see, that's one of the things people want us to bring up in this debate. But what do you see as the county's responsibility to the development of greater opportunities for K through 12 students in public schools here in Lawrence County?
Well, listen, education's everything, y'all. I grew up right here, LPS, E.O. Kaufman, old public, E.O. Kaufman, then Lawrence County High School. I think open communication constantly with our director of schools, with our school board, and that is something I'm on the phone with those guys a lot. Michael Atkins and I have got to know each other really well in the last several years. But they come every year and they make their requests known. And there's something, the governor mandated that starting salary for teachers by so-and-so date would be $55,000 a year. And we exceeded that. The county commission said, hey, why don't we jump ahead of that? And so we did that in conjunction with the school board and got ahead of that and went ahead and got our teachers where they needed to be. And it made us more competitive. And then when it comes to vocational, I remember my senior year, I had Mr. Fisher, I had Mr. Kimbrell, I had a whole crew of vocational guys. I was an electrician as well growing up as a kid. And so I'm going to tell you something. The jobs that computers will never replace are guys turning wrenches, Philip, or guys that are bending conduit and pulling wire, or trade skills. And those jobs pay really, really good. Plumbing is one of the highest paid skilled trades in America today. And I think we should invest in those things. And we do that right now through collaboration, actually, with Tennessee Technology Center. We have teachers from TCAT, my friend Joe Chapman, various other ones around the county, Andrew Nave. They are employees of Tennessee Technology Center and in our school system, and we don't have to pay them. We pay half their salary. It saves Lawrence County school system a lot of money, but it puts a qualified teacher in that room too.
So let's talk about Lawrence County and the rapid growth that we're seeing and more growth coming. We have some residents here in Lawrence County that are pro growth. We also have some that are not. What would you say to both? Are you pro both? Are you pro growth? Or are you okay with trying to slow it down? And how would you accomplish either?
Lawrence, that's a great question, because raising 5 kids, I want to push pause sometimes. Like my 11-year-old daughter right now, I wish I could just push pause right there. I wish she would stay 11. But she's not going to. She's going to grow. And as she grows, I have to stay just as engaged as I was when she was 1 day old as I am when she's 21 years old. And in Lawrence County, am I pro-growth? I'm pro-growth in the sense that we are creating good opportunities for our people. Listen, I want my children to have opportunities to live right here and to make a living right here and to be around my kitchen table on Sunday afternoons and Sunday evenings. Do I want astronomical growth that's like Murray County and other counties north of us? No, I don't, because it's detrimental. We have had a steady growth rate here that's been manageable for us. There's a reason why we've been able to do what we've been able to do with the growth we've had. But I never want to see us aspiring so much for growth that we lose our soul, right? Scripture says, what's it profit a man to gain the entire world but lose his soul, right? Your soul is your identity. It's who we are. And the soul of Lawrence County is what I am bound and determined to protect. I want to see growth, but I want to see it be positive. I want to see it help people have better opportunity, because here's the truth. I've been all over this state, and if a town and a county's not growing, it's dying. All right, I'm just going to say that. And drugs and all these other things begin to come up. You see factories closing down and empty retail buildings. It creates an atmosphere of depression, an atmosphere of hopelessness. And so you got to balance that growth with a good plan and proper management.
All right, Philip. Lawrence County's had a lot of growth. Some residents are pro-growth, some are not. What would you say to both? Are you pro-growth, or are you okay with trying to slow it down? And how would you accomplish either?
Straight knee-jerk reaction is, boy, I wished it was back like it was in the mid-90s, when you could drive down any road and there wasn't a house. It was, you do whatever. We know that we can't have that. I think that we have to go with growth, but it has to be regulated, strategic growth. We have some things in place now with the chamber and LUS that regulate whether we can handle the electric load or the water load for a business to come in. But I think that has to be stepped up. I think we have to have more of a say-so. So The ones that want no growth, I'd have to agree with David. That when you have nothing growing, then you're going to see empty buildings. If you just drive around some, you'll see that. I could name some towns that are just falling apart. But we also can't go wide open. We have to put the things in place, structured well, to where we can regulate it. Whether it's a hog that's coming in with huge electrical and water use, or whatever, we have to regulate that. And look, I want my families be around too. I've got a 23-year-old and a 17-year-old. I've about got through school, that is doing great, doing great things. I want them to stay around too. So well-regulated, good growth, being able to have things in our county they can make a living doing.
Thank you. Philip, back to you again for this question. Both of you have been in office for 4 years, and you both have accomplishments. I want to give you both a chance to talk about those accomplishments. Tell us what your greatest accomplishments are, in your opinion, while you've been serving as a county commissioner.
I think two things. I think having the relationship that I have with the commissioners that are in there now, some that I know will be in there because they're running unopposed, unless you're like Scott Frank says, and he's afraid unopposed is gaining ground. but I think the relationship there is a big positive that I have going into this. The accomplishment that I would have to say that I feel like I done was having a time clock for our employees at the county level, and making them paid in the rears instead of the forwards. And what I mean by that is we were turning in a handwritten timesheet on Tuesday, getting paid on Thursday, when we hadn't even worked that Friday. I feel like we were not regulating how our taxpayer dollars were being spent. That is actually the meeting that I got mad enough to say that I was going to run for county executive in, because one of our leaders, one of our voted officials, wasn't even at the meeting that I was having with them about holding them accountable. We have to hold people accountable, and we're not. And I started that, but I feel like I was at the end of my rope as a commissioner at that, when you get into policy and making that surrounding the time clock. We are on a time clock system now. We are paying in the rear now. You actually have to work the days to get paid. And we're beginning to understand the difference in a salaried and an hourly employee, because that was not understood at all before I started that. My eyes just got open to that as I was on the commission.
Thank you, Philip. David, again, back to accomplishments. Had 4 years serving as county executive. What do you see as your greatest accomplishments while being in office?
Man, I think the biggest thing is the Emergency Services Committee that I was able to start my first go around. To put qualified professionals at the table, along with commissioners on the other side that have experience in emergency services, has produced the greatest fruit, in my opinion. From the Sheriff's Department, Sheriff Myers will tell you, we've been able to fund everything he's needed to do. To EMS, we've been able to fund the raises that we had to do, and the expansion of a 5th ambulance and all those things. And County Fire, there is an optimism in County Fire right now that's unprecedented, man. We had a room, our training center, the Jason Dickey Training Center, we, through the Emergency Services Committee, appropriated the money to finish that building. I think it was about $250,000 to finish that building out. It was packed full just the other night of new trainees and new volunteers. And guys, listen, there was not that spirit of optimism in those services. As a matter of fact, we were losing people. We couldn't keep staffing going. And Philip's right. We probably got there's always one will step down, and one will, we'll put out application sometimes at these agencies, but way better staffing than we've ever had before. Man, overall, I've been so pleased with everything we've been able to accomplish, and the collaboration. There's not one thing I've wanted to do that the county commission hasn't voted for and agreed to do. And I don't have to get the credit for that. I don't have to say I'm the guy that made it all happen. I'm the guy that worked the room. I can sit back and say, you know what? They voted the way I wanted it to go, because they understood clearly what was best for Lawrence County. It's not about one guy. It's about us as a team, and that's the way I lead, and that's the way I look forward to leading in the future.
All right, David. Oftentimes, we have companies that'll move into areas, including Lawrence County, large companies, and they're offered different perks are offered to those companies, while small businesses who've been here for years don't get those same perks. What would you say to the small business owner who sees those tax perks being given to the larger companies?
Great question, Lawrence. Yeah, like the Magna International deal that was made when Magna was looking for a place to land, they were asking for a tax abatement, and so the commission, we were tasked as county government to consider what that would look like to be able to get them here. Um, I think for small businesses, if they're expanding, if they're going to add jobs, right? If they're going to build onto their facilities, why can't small businesses come to the table and ask for an abatement as well? And I know there are smaller manufacturing companies that have that opportunity in our community, and so why can't small businesses do that? And I think that's something that I would certainly champion, to be able to let small businesses that want to expand and grow. What could we do for them to help incentivize them? And so it's a great question. And it's a great opportunity, honestly, Lawrence, for us to add to the culture of progress and helping local people. I just got a call from a contractor yesterday. He's a small business owner. I think he probably grosses around $500,000 to $1 million a year. He's got 4, 5, 6 employees. He's trying to make a living out of that. And he was saying, man, I'm seeing all these contractors from out of the county coming in. Why are all these other contractors getting to come in here and soak up our jobs? And so he and I are having conversations. I'm actually going to meet with him and a big group of his constituents that are also working in small business. How do we get them to the table too? And not only shop local, but let's hire local as well. And so those are some ideas moving forward.
All right, Philip, same question. That oftentimes we have large companies that moving into Lawrence County, that are offered different perks are offered to those companies, while small businesses that might have been here for years don't see those same perks. What would you say to that small business owner who sees those tax perks being given to the larger companies?
Well, thanks for the salt in the wound. I run one of the small
Yeah.
businesses. The way I look at the whole is property tax. I paid my property tax since the first day that Brady walked in the office and said, "Hey, what are you doing here?" And I'm like, "I'm running a business. Thanks for seeing me in the first month," kind of deal. So I feel like that we have to back up on the agreements that we're doing with the big corporations coming in a little bit. They're moving to Lawrence County. It had better be a dadgum good place or a good place to let come in if we're giving them their tax money back, because that's really what they're doing. Is they get a loan and then their property tax money pays the loan. That's how this works. Now, yes, we can say that there's some gains. We're talking about people that work there. We're talking about if it's a hotel motel, there's taxes that come in off of that. But when you look at it, it's not fair across the board. So you've got a small entity that decides they're going to start let's say a real technical machine place in Lawrenceburg that has a very small number of people. I've never seen one of them come across the board getting any kind of TIF, any kind of property tax abatement at all. So I think we have to make it more palatable to someone to move here, other than giving our property tax money away, because where them dollars end up laying on is us property taxes at residential and everything else's shoulders, because we'll end up raising it if we don't have that base.
Can I add to that just a little bit? 30 seconds.
We'll give a 30-second rebuttal.
Yeah.
Okay. So like the Magna deal, for instance, so it was a tax abatement, a 60/40. By state law, you can't do more than 60% off for 20 years. So the idea there is they are creating X amount of jobs, 150, 250 jobs, whatever they're going to end up building out. So that's tax. So we're getting 40% of their $200 million valuation, right? So we're getting 40% of that for 20 years. That's 40% of something we weren't getting at all before they came here. And they created jobs where these people will be spending money in Lawrence County and they'll make more money for their families. So, but we need to look at that on a small level too. And I agree with you on that. I think everybody should have a chance to come and make their petition known and see.
You want to add to it, Phil?
How many employees does Magna have right now?
I think they have 125 or so.
How many are they planning on having?
Up to 250 is what we were told in the beginning when they finish all the phases. They've only finished phase 1 at this point. So they've got half of that building they're going to finish out later on.
But we've began the property tax already. They're not paying.
Yeah, but we're getting 40% of what we were never getting before, right? So
Right.
that's a lot of money for the county and the city, and that keeps us from having to raise property taxes on small businesses and on homeowners because we're getting a valuation there.
But I am still paying 100% on mine, just to say.
And again, I think that's something we can certainly come to the table and say, hey, you want to expand
It's hard.
if you want to expand your business and create 8 or 10 more jobs, then come to the table and ask. I think.
Thank you. Let's moving right along the same venue. Let's talk about transparency and accountability. Philip, back to you. How will you ensure transparency and accountability to taxpayers in Lawrence County?
Always available. I'm already available like that now. My wife actually got me a new cell phone, and I run that baby down before I got to leave home. Come here, been on the phone all morning. I'm as transparent as it comes. I'm going to tell you what the truth is. It may not be the most palatable thing to you. It may not be the most popular thing, but I'm going to tell you the truth. The answer sometimes is going to be no. That's just how it has to be. Accountability, you're really in my wheelhouse when we're talking accountability. Accountability is not just smacking somebody on the head. Accountability is always patting them on the back too. We have a problem in Lawrence County government now. If we're talking about morale and we're talking about pay and all of that, we do no such thing as a merit-based raise. Come out eventually. We don't do that. We do across the board. So the ones that are failing get the same raise that the ones are doing great. We don't touch that. We have amazing folks that work for our county that are ready to be done, because the guys that are not so amazing are getting the same raise, the same perks and all that we have. So that's accountability to me. Transparency, all I got to do is come to the office. I'll be there, or I'll be somewhere in the county. Yes, I'll have contacts outside of the county, but that will not be where my place of business is.
Thank you. David Morgan, same topic, same question, transparency and accountability. How will you ensure transparency and accountability to taxpayers in the next 4 years?
Well, I'll continue doing what we've been doing. I post regular videos. I write articles and in my office and talk about what's going on in the commission, what's going on in county government. As far as availability goes, listen, I post my own cell phone number on social media, and you can say I'm crazy for doing that or whatever, but people can call me, connect with me, text me anytime they want to. And my office as county executive, let me just say this. You may have heard it said, I'll be there, and Philip, that's your slogan. I'll be there working for you. And here's the thing. It's not a clock to punch being the county executive. It's a full-time job. It's 24/7. It's 7 days a week, 12 months out of the year. My office is a place where I collaborate and work with other people. I serve as county executive. I serve on 11 different boards at being in this place. And you know what? None of those boards meet at my office. I'm boots on the ground. Matter of fact, this pair of boots I got on right now, I wore a hole in the bottom of the right one. I need to buy some new ones. But I am out and about with the people. My leadership philosophy is different than a lot of people. I don't expect everybody to come to me. Come to my office, have a meeting. I go to my department heads. I've got 9 department heads that directly respond to me. They're responsible to listen to me as their CEO. I go to them. I go to their office. I go to meet with their people. I walk around. I greet them, talk to them. I listen to them in their place of business. I don't just sit in my office with my feet up waiting on people to come to me. So it's a leadership style, and it's boots on the ground, and it's 24/7, and I love it. That's what I've always done, running my own business, even pastoring a church. It's been that way my entire life. So
Thank you.
yeah.
So, David, what makes you the best qualified candidate for being Lawrence County executive?
Wow. If you asked me that 4 years ago, I'd have said, man, I felt compelled to step into the arena. 4 years ago, I learned real quick that I did not have all the knowledge and understanding I needed. And I'm going to say 4 years later, there's still a lot I need to learn. But I want to say this to the citizens of Lawrence County. I constantly think and pray and deliberate and talk to people about this county. This is my home. What makes me qualified is my passion and my heart and my drive and my determination. And if I haven't proven that in 4 years, then I haven't proven anything. Listen, education matters. Listen, every year the laws change in Tennessee, and our commissioners are supposed to get training. They're supposed to do it every single year. And every year I get a report from the comptroller's office on who's done the training, who hasn't. It's not a finding, but it's a warning. And I can say without a shadow of a doubt, numerous times there are people on there that are seeking positions of higher office that do not do that. And so I have committed to put my time in to do the trainings necessary, because I don't believe I just have the answers. I believe I've got to learn constantly. And as my dad always told me, if you be a lifelong learner, son, you'll be a lifetime grower. And so that's my goal, and that's who I am, and that's what I'm going to continue to do.
Philip, what makes you the best qualified candidate to be the next Lawrence County executive?
Well, I'll start off by saying I'm one of the ones that's on that list that he's talking about. And the reason I'm on that list that he's talking about is I took all of the training the first year that I become a commissioner. I'm the first commissioner on the commission that had to take the required training, and I took it all because I thought that I had to have it all. There is rules that change. There's laws that change. I get an email with that directly from the state level that tells me what laws changed. So I took the training before because want to be prepared and knowing what I'm getting into. I've actually started taking training now in the county executive role, which I feel like I pretty much understand. So what makes me the one that you would want to pick, that I'm the one that should fill that role? If we talk to the departments, they'll tell you that they don't have communications that they should have. I just said at one last night, I really wanted to go to Abigail's plant. I got a phone call from one of our departments that wanted to talk to me, and that's because they felt like I was the only one available. I feel like that's what makes me. Listen, I would enjoy to go watch Abigail's plant, see Tommy Lee, and see all the amazing things they do. But whenever something's happening at our county, that's what we have to go to. That's what our focus has to be on. We are tasked with being over operations of our county. They look to us for a direction, and I can be that direction. I think you ask any employee of the county, and they'll know that they'll be held more accountable.
Thank you. Closing statements. Was decided who was going to go first by a coin toss. Each candidate's going to get 3 minutes for a closing statement. David Morgan, you're first. Go ahead.
All right. Guys, I've enjoyed serving as county executive in Lawrence County. I'll just speak directly to you tonight. I've enjoyed solving the problems. I've enjoyed leading and working among the commission, being led oftentimes by the commissioners, especially those with experience that I have not had myself over the years. And man, we've done great things. We've made a lot of progress over the last 4 years. As a matter of fact, by every metric I've been able to measure, we have seen progress across the board in Lawrence County. Man, we've delivered the largest road building program in the history of our county. We have doubled our allocation and then some to our county fire departments. And I've said all these things tonight. We've been able to expand EMS and the sheriff's department. I want to continue doing that kind of work. I want to continue serving the people of Lawrence County, and being able to get up every day and go 24/7 wide open to help this county. I was just at EMS the other night and sat there with a shift for about 2.5 to 3 hours, from about 8:30 till about 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. And hearing their heart and hearing their passion and hearing what concerns them really opened my eyes and really gave me a renewed passion for why I'm running again. And as much as I love the citizens of Lawrence County, and I want to help the citizens, at the same time, as the Chief Executive Officer of Lawrence County, my responsibility is to our employees as well. And I've proven over the last several years I've fought for our employees, and they know that. And I don't have to tout anything. They know I've fought for them, and EMS knows I've fought for them, and I will continue to fight for them. The truth is, there's a lot of people that can say they're going to do a lot of things in life, but it's the people that are getting stuff done that I want in leadership. And tonight, Lawrence County, I would just humbly ask you to allow me to have this opportunity again, the opportunity to take initiative, the opportunity to ask the tough questions, the opportunity to dig into situations and find solutions that are necessary for us to continue to have the greatest county in the state of Tennessee. And so, man, the first person I asked was my wife. What do you think, baby? Should I even consider it again? And Philip, I know you had to get permission too. And my wife says yes, David. And our whole life has been about helping people in ministry and my own personal business, and I love to do that. And I'll just promise that my heart will be that I'll listen. Man, I've been crazy enough to get in the middle of social media a lot of times in situations because people deserve answers. And I'm not scared of that. And I look forward to the opportunity to do that again. Lawrence County is the best place in the world to live, and I want to keep it that way. But it's going to take leadership that's committed, that understands, and that's done the work to be prepared for what's coming next. So Lawrence County, I would love to have your vote, your support, and most definitely your prayers. God bless.
Thank you, David. Phillip Heatherly, you have 3 minutes for a closing statement. Go ahead.
Well, I'd like to ask for your vote. What I will bring to the table, it's been said a couple of times about our volunteer fire and the EMS committee. That is a great thing that David done for the county, putting the EMS committee together. What we've always done to fund fire in the past years has been budget overage at the end of the year. Whenever you hear me say giving them leftovers, I want to address what that actually means. At the end of the year, we realize interest that we didn't know that we were going to have, and we realize when someone hadn't spent their whole budget. And that's where we've been getting the money from for that. My question is, what are we going to do when we don't have a budget year that ends with a high interest rate, when we had to spend too much money in a budget? We have to fund our volunteer fire departments going forward, hopefully beginning this budget year when it begins. Whenever we're talking being there and being engaged, that's where I'm comfortable. Out shaking hands with people at a chamber breakfast, rubbing shoulders with them is not where Philip's comfortable at. I'm comfortable with the ones that all of our hopes are laying on their shoulders. Whenever we call and need the ambulance service, I need to know that they have the mental help that they need for the horrible day that they've been through. I need to know when the fire responds that they have that too. We have to address the small things in our county that are not being addressed to make our county better. The amount that we pay in property taxes is enough. We should be able to get the services that we need through our county with cuts and all to be able to spend more on the things that we need: roads, emergency services. That's what I'll tell you that I'll do. If you need me, I promise I'll be in the county. And not always in the office. You can't be. I can't know what's going on at all the departments and just be in the office. I have to be there. But I can guarantee you there will be an open door, and if I'm not there, you find me within just a few minutes. There may be times I have to be at the state, but I promise you that won't be very often if I can be here fixing a problem. But I ask for you to get out, early vote if it's what you want to do. It's up to April 30th, and then get out and vote in this primary. I think that'll have a big swing on what happens in August. So get out and vote. May 5th will be the last day to vote in this primary. Thank you. God bless you. God bless Lawrence County, and God bless the United States of America.
Thank you both, gentlemen, Mr. David Morgan, Mr. Phillip Heatherly, for being here tonight. I want to also thank Mr. Lawrence Sutton for being here, being on board, being in the middle of this.
I needed to borrow those sunglasses, though. These lights are so bright.
Yeah, his future's so bright, he's got to wear shades.
That's right.
But backstage, always pulling the strings. I want to thank the volunteers that make these kinds of things happen. Our Lawrence County Republican Party and our County Executive Committee, a great group of volunteers. They're always working very hard here tonight. I appreciate all of them. I want to give a big shout out to WLX Studios, WDXC, always a beacon for free speech in Lawrence County. What would this county be without this awesome radio station? I can't imagine it. So glad you all are here. Thank you all for tuning in at home. And I want to say, if you get mad at someone over politics, don't get angry. Go get a steak. At Strikers.
Yes, sir.
It'll make things better.
Add the
Steak
fried
always.
onions. Add the fried
I'm telling you, I was sitting here, I've been looking at this the entire time, and I'm thinking I've got to go to Strikers. Strikers is the one place I can eat, even if I'm not hungry. So great food, great time. Thank you, Josh, for all you do there, and thank you all the crew at Strikers. God bless you. God bless Lawrence County. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.